Okay girls, this recipe is enough to make a small tray bake. This tin is 20 centimetres by 20 centimetres. You may not have one of tins of that size at home. If not, you might be able to make it in a large round sandwich tin, or alternatively, if you do have a standard size tray bake tin, this one that I have is 33 centimetres by 23, I think. If you double the recipe I'm going to show you, it would then fit this size tin. So it's entirely up to you what you use. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line the tin, and I'm using baking parchment, and I'm going to cut it so that it's slightly larger than the tin. It's a nice square. And then once I've got my square, I'm going to cut in at 45-degree angles from the corners. And then once I've done that, that should then just slot into the tin nicely, and the corners should bend over. So that your tin is snugly lined. Now you shouldn't need to grease this, it should just be fine as it is. So that's the tin ready for later. The next thing I need is 100 grams of butter, which mine was quite hard. I took it straight out of the fridge, so I've softened it a little bit in the microwave. It's actually better if you remember to take your butter out a couple of hours before you need to use it, rather than microwaving it. And I'm adding 100 grams of caster sugar. If you don't have caster sugar at home, granulated sugar is also fine. Caster sugar is better for baking because it's ground up into smaller bits, so therefore when you whisk things and cream things, it can hold more air, and so you will get a better result if you use caster sugar than granulated. And I'm going to use a hand mixer now to whisk this up until it's a nice creamy mixture. This is called creaming. If you don't have a hand mixer at home, but you have a stand mixer, then you can use your stand mixer for this. Or you could do it the really old-fashioned way and use a wooden spoon to beat it. You need to cream the mixture until it looks like that, which is really pale and mousse-like. And then once you get to that stage, you need to add your eggs to it. So my eggs I'm going to crack into a measuring jug. And I'm just going to whisk those up to the fork. And then I'm going to add the eggs a little bit at a time. If I add the eggs too quickly, then the mixture may curdle, which means it wants to try and separate. But obviously it's best if it doesn't. All the time we're doing this, we're whisking as much air as possible into our mixture, which is going to make our cake, our tray bake, really nice and light. This is a good thing. So I've mixed the eggs in, and I've now got 100 grams of self-raising flour. I'm adding 1 teaspoon of baking powder to that, just to give it an extra little bit of oomph. And I'm now going to fold my flour and baking powder mixture into this creamed butter, sugar and egg mixture. I'm going to do it half at a time. Now if we just tried to whisk the flour in with the hand mixer, what would happen is the flour would just cause all of the air to leave the mixture, and we don't want that to happen. So we've got to mix it in carefully so that the flour almost stays suspended in this lovely light airy mixture. So in order to fold it in, I'm using a metal spoon rather than a wooden spoon because the edge of the metal spoon is thinner and it's less likely to knock out the air bubbles. And I'm cutting through the mixture. It's important to be very careful when folding in because if you whisk it too thoroughly, you're going to knock the air out. Okay, I'm going to cut the top off and I'm going to cut the bottom off. And then I'm going to cut the pear in half lengthways. And then I'm going to quarter the pear. And similarly to preparing an apple, we need to take this little middle core bit out, so I'm going to do a little V there. Okay, once the pear is cored, you need to use a vegetable peeler just to carefully peel the pears. You now need to cut the pear up into small pieces and then dicing it. Camera off. Okay, once the pear is chopped, we're just going to put that in the bottom of our tray bake tin, sprinkle that about, and then we're going to add half of the cake mixture. So I'm going to use a spatula to do a line down half of it. And then with the remaining mixture, in order to get the marbled effect, what we're going to do is we're going to add a tablespoon of cocoa powder to the remaining, to fold that in so that that chocolate is incorporated right through. Cake mixture. Through. That then goes into the oven for about 20 minutes until it's springy on top and it's just shrinking away from the sides of the tin, and it should go on to 180 degrees centigrade or gas mark 4 if it's a fan oven, 170 degrees centigrade. So this has just come out of the oven and you can see if you press it lightly it springs back, which means that it's cooked. I'm going to turn that out onto a cooling rack, leave it to cool, and then when it's cool I'm going to cut that into 16 pieces.